Everybody ready? Okay. Well, I will call the meeting to order at 6:03. And the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item of business is the review of the agenda. Does the agenda look correct to the board? Seeing no changes, and I don't see any. Is there any correspondence or public comments? Hearing none, usually we would move into the reorganization part of the meeting, but because we have Dave Szabo and students here to talk about History Night, we're going to start with that. So Christy's going to go invite them in.
They were meeting out at the flagpole to make sure everybody was here.
Because we're feeding cats.
So we're just making sure that they're all.
We wanted to make sure that we gave them plenty of time.
We have a pitch.
The cold?
Yeah. Discomfort.
Not good necessarily.
No.
Are you watching for people joining?
Yeah.
Okay.
Richard complains of discomfort. So yeah, they are just making pitch for redundancy.
Easy enough to do.
Pitch from
Oh, okay.
looking to go through the trade route rather than still get snow.
Yeah. Did you see Otto?
Not tonight.
With Toronto.
It's
Next
got-
time.
Next time.
Or the
Yeah,
time.
whatever.
You can join anything you like.
Ready. Bring on, come in.
It's
That's great.
not a problem. You just want to play.
I get it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
Dan? Hey, Dan,
Yes, Don.
my condolences to your Yankees. I saw them yesterday. They didn't look the greatest, but
Thank you. Yes, Peter and I were just talking about that. Their number one guy is hurt right now. So yeah, thank you for your condolences.
Rennie, can you hear all right?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Loud and clear.
We're just waiting for students to come in.
All right. I apologize for that.
Not at all.
Is everybody kind of familiar with History Night and what it is? Are most people familiar with History Night?
Most of us have
I
been
was
to
not
it.
here.
Yeah, some of you've done.
Some of us have.
Very recently.
Yes. It sounds like they're coming in, but it used to be like a student would kind of take like some historical issue, could be the history of farming, could be the history of warfare, whatever, and then kind of follow that through. Lately, it's kind of taken on more of a social issue, taking a look at some kind of social issue.
Okay.
It's still done kind of the same way. Students still get a trifold. They still have signatures they've got to get of people, and they got to present to people. And it's really kind of a big deal for a lot of middle school kids, especially those 8th grade students.
Yeah.
It's one of the first times they're having to give a rather big presentation in front of somebody. They give it in front of their class, then they have to give it to strangers. And
This one they used to do in the gym.
it is the one that, yep, they still do it in the gym.
Right.
Yep. So they still do that, and yep, they still get some tables and line them all up, and they still do it, yeah.
Where would you like the kids to be? Just right in
Yeah,
here?
just sit right here, whichever's best for you.
Whatever works for you.
You sit right here. Good.
Yes, please, Christy, if you would introduce or get it so the students can introduce themselves as well.
So right before vacation, we had history night, and we thought it'd be a really timely opportunity to have students come in and share what history night is and what it was like for them, how much work went into it, a little bit about the tradition of history night. And Mr. Zabo, who teaches 8th grade social studies, agreed to come and bring some kids with him.
Yeah.
So, Dave?
I guess I'll start it off if
Yeah.
that's all right, and then I'll introduce these guys, and please ask questions, but they're gonna kind of go through, I guess, their experience and all that. So thanks for having us, we really appreciate it. So I'm a 8th grade social studies on the Voyager team. I think next year will be my 25th year. So I've been doing history night for a long time, longer than I've been here, but it's been a great experience throughout. It has evolved. I remember early on, we used to do was kind of the history of whatever topic, going back to the 1600s or 1800s or whatever. It's definitely evolved to more current issues. We feel like that has more of a connection, gives kids kind of a more choice, if you will, or buy-in to what they're really interested in. And it connects it to today's kind of events around the world or things that they're definitely interested in. It's very interdisciplinary, so we work with the English department to do some writing, and that's based on the research we do here. So we do research. We also have an outline and work through paper. We do multiple revisions of that. There is public speaking, there's organization, and they also have to be creative because we also do a trifold that presents. Sometimes students do models, but trifolds are required. We really feel like it's a really unique and strong part of the academic life of 8th grade. It's kind of like a tradition and something that everybody kind of looks back, I think typically afterwards and say, wow, that was really stressful, but now that I look back, it was really rewarding. So that's a big positive. Today or tonight, we'd like to kind of, I've been fortunate enough to have 4 students, 2 from the Dream Team, Hunter and Shelby, and then 2 from the Voyagers, Morgan and Annabelle. And they're going to tell you a little bit about their process of how they went through History Night, kind of their emotional experience, and it may not be exactly how I described it, but you know, most of the students, when we do a reflection, really look at it as a positive experience in the long run. And they'll also have an opportunity, or you'll have an opportunity to ask them questions as we go through. So we built in some opportunities for you to ask questions as we go through this. Does that make sense? Good. All right. Do you want these students to stand up, sit? How would you like them to do it?
They could stand.
All right. Would you guys stand on up? And I'll turn it over to these students.
Hey, my name is Hunter, and I'm on the Dream Team. I live in Highgate. My project was about gun rights.
I'm Shelby, and I'm from the Dream Team. I live in Swanton, and my project was about vaping.
I'm Morgan. I'm on the Voyager team. I live in Highgate, Vermont, and I chose school safety.
I'm Annabelle. I'm part of the Voyager team also. I live in Franklin, and I did my project on the Southern border crisis.
Oh my God.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I chose this topic not for any really specific reason, but just because I was kind of like curious, like you hear people talking about it, you see it on the news, like what's it really like about, what are the biggest problems? So I was just kind of curious to see what it's all about.
I chose my topic because it's something I've been interested in for a while, and it's some stuff that I've experienced in my true school life. So.
I chose my topic because I have a few family members who vape, and I'd like to spread awareness about the negative effects.
I was just interested in guns.
So some of the biggest questions I was probably focusing on is like, what are some of the biggest opinions? Like, it's a really controversial topic, so like, what are the majority of people like thinking should happen in the future?
Some of my big questions were like, why is it happening? What's the reasoning behind people's mindsets towards it? And like, where is it most common?
My big questions are, how does vaping affect you, and why people are so addicted to it, and how to quit?
One of my big questions was like, why is putting a limit on magazines doing anything to affect shootings?
So, research is stressful. So some of the biggest things that I learned were definitely how to like find a reliable source, like kind of what I should be looking for, like that kind of thing, which also helped making my trifold, because like finding graphs like that are reliable, like it doesn't have really anybody's opinion like hidden in there. So that was probably one of the biggest things I learned.
Yeah, once again, yeah, like not finding opinions and also finding some sources that had a lot of really good information, or like information that was insanely useful. That was kind of difficult to find, but found it in the end. So.
Yes, also along with it was like easiest kind of to find reliable sources, and I used like organization skills to help keep all my notes together.
Yeah, just finding reliable sources was a big part of the research phase.
And so not just the research, but like public speaking, depending on who you are, can also be a little like anxiety inducing. But really the build up to it, like just like the car ride going, was probably the worst part. But once you got there, like, it's not actually as bad as it seems. So like if I was gonna like talk to somebody like that, like in 7th grade, that's gonna be like doing it next year, that's probably the biggest thing I'd say is like don't worry about it too much. Like definitely try your best, like work as hard as you can, but it's not as stressful as you think it's gonna be.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, like watching people walk by as you're standing at your trifold thinking, oh crap, I'm gonna have to present to them, like this random stranger, it's a little bit stressful, but like also talking to, like you said, the 7th graders and helping them get through like the workup, like, oh my goodness, what the heck, it's not as stressful as it seems.
Yeah, before, like when we were researching, I was building up anxieties, like I'm gonna not do well in front of all these random people, but when I was presenting, it wasn't as bad as I thought, and after, I'm pretty relieved that it's over, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was, yeah, the car ride to the history night was not great, but I didn't completely finish my speech, so I kind of just winged it for most of it, but yeah.
So like now that we've heard all of our like thoughts, or do you have any questions?
So you were really nervous on the way here, and then when you got here and people started coming to your booth, I was just kind of curious, like, how was it for you to handle like any negative feedback? I'm sure that you were pretty prepared for it, but did it like, were you really prepared? Like you were able to answer it and, you know, be like, you know, hey, this is this, and present your information. And
Yeah, so I tried to make my project as like not one-sided as possible, like try to give like everybody's point of view on it, so to like kind of avoid any negative feedback. But I didn't really get much of that, but like I got a lot of questions, and that it's like just try to answer it the best you can, like with what you know. Like if it's something you just like point blank have not heard of, just be like, oh, I actually didn't really come across that. That's probably what I'd say.
I think everyone here can account on that. Like, you are worried about the negative feedback, but you're always prepared for it because you've researched this topic for what, 2-3 weeks, and it's kind of easy to kind of say like, yeah, I get your point, but like, here's the actual information to back it up. So.
Again, with them, yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I got like most of the information I would need if I were to ever get a negative like feedback, if I was able to build off of that.
I have nothing to add.
So you talked a lot about opinion versus fact and how to put that up there. So I'm assuming you probably each came in with opinions on your topic, and then how did that influence it? And when you did all your research, did your opinion change or did it stay the same?
That's honestly a really hard question to answer. Like, it was definitely difficult for me to not put my opinion in my writing because honestly, there's not really a perfect answer to the border crisis, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it was, I don't know. It was kind of difficult to like keep my opinion out of it, and it kind of changed a little because I got a lot more information. So like before, what I thought I knew it wasn't necessarily like actual facts.
Yeah, kind of like she said or whatever, once you start researching your topic, your viewpoint might change a little bit, but your thoughts or opinions might not really change. Like once I learned a little bit more about school safety, it was a little bit devastating, and kind of learning about that kind of changed my viewpoint on how much of a problem it is in America. So.
Yeah, I came into vaping topic as a very negative, and as I kept researching, I figured out like it's more worse than I thought that it was. And yeah, it definitely changed my point of view on like how the information about vapes should be spread out more.
Well, because you go into it like wanting to help people, like that was my opinion, is like, oh, I want to help as many people as I can, but it's not as straightforward as that. Like once I was researching, like you realize like, oh, there's more to it than just like, oh, we have to help these people. So.
I mean, yeah, gun rights is a pretty controversial topic, so like, I had my opinions going in on it, and yeah, my viewpoint kind of changed, but opinions stayed the same.
So I have a question. So to the adults or to the people that came to visit, maybe not just the adults, maybe students go through there too, I'm not sure. Do you have anything that you wish we would have done, the ones that were going through and reading your information or asking you guys questions? Is there anything that you would ask of us in the future for other grades?
So honestly, for the most part, I got some really good questions, and that's probably the best thing, is like, just don't, this is kind of hard to explain, but like, just like asking the person to like read their speech necessarily is like probably not the most helpful thing, but like asking like, if you don't have any questions, then like that's not bad, but like asking like questions like specifically about that topic, like you have them, like don't be afraid to be like, oh, why'd you pick this, or like, oh, what's this about, like, because that's what we've been researching for the past like almost month, so.
Yeah, I can get behind the asking questions part, but some of the things I noticed a little bit with at least my topic is people were like, okay, and like, can you like hurry up a little bit? And I noticed that like 1 or 2 times, especially with 7th graders. They're like, okay, yeah, they're kind of like sneaking away, like, hey, I'm gonna go read this person's topic now instead of, so maybe.
But your topics is important, right? School safety is all of your topics are important.
Yeah, my topic, there's a lot of people who also chose it, so people wouldn't want as much information from me just in general. So they like select like one question and then move away, like maybe have some more detail about specifics.
Yeah, like I got maybe like 1 or 2 questions about gun rights. That's like it, and then they just moved away. So.
Can I ask, sorry, you're all pivoting. Do you think, as hard as it is to do a public speaking event like this with lots of people's parents and others coming through, do you think you learned about how to prepare to speak in public, or do you think it will make it easier for you the next time you have an assignment where you have to speak? I mean, you're doing it now and you're doing fabulously well, right? But do you think it will help you?
Yeah, it's like definitely preparing us like to speak in front of a bunch of people. I mean, probably like 300 people there, so a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like a good like step, because it's not like you're not presenting to all 300 people in the gym at the same time. It's just like, oh, maybe like 1 to 5 or something.
Mhm.
So it's probably helpful because it definitely cuts down on the stress, because it's like, oh, instead of I'll have like a conversation instead of just like having to know what to say for a good 3 minutes. Like,
Yeah, I believe it's a good skill to have, even if you're just talking with a random adult in the building, or even if you are presenting in front of a large group, it's important to have those skills to be able to talk in a presentive manner, in a like a, I can't think of what to say. Yeah, just proper manner, I guess you could say.
Yeah, this project has helped me with public speaking because not a big fan of talking in front of people, but it has definitely helped my fear of talking in front of a whole bunch of people.
Well, you've all done marvelously well with it, so thank you. You did prepare you well.
Yeah, if I could just kind of wrap things up, if that's all right. The last few years, I think since COVID, we've seen a little, I guess, less engagement, to be honest, from the public, and we're not sure exactly if they're not sure how to go about History Night in terms of, as these the students have said, parents or people coming up and then not really engaging. And so next year, I think we've already talked about having maybe a little cheat sheet for parents with like possible questions, and also having parents maybe to write down 10 presentations that they listen to, and have students present to 15 adults, where they'll have to actually try to pull in adults to have them present, because the kids were very happy just to let adults walk by and not say anything. So I think that might be a nice way to kind of engage the community and give, again, that cheat sheet, so that the community kind of knows how to act, or what the expectations are for the night. The only other thing I would say is I'd love, I know I've said this maybe a couple times in the past, but I'd love to see some more community presentations like this, academic presentations as students get into high school. Sometimes I do feel like, in 8th grade, there's a lot of preparation at this big event, and I'd love to see that those opportunities continue in high school for presentations as well. But I do feel like, I feel like it would be, maybe there would be another level of it, and I don't know what that level would be or where that would be, but I think that would be beneficial for students to continue to practice the skills that they've all learned. So. Do you have anything else for us? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
They did a great job. One of the things that community and business says to us the most is public speaking, and being able to talk in front of people is one of the most important things. That and being on time and prepared, but so I'm glad to see them do that. So the next portion of the meeting is the meeting organization, and I am happy to look for nominations for board chair.
Can I nominate Jen?
Have a nomination for chair for Jen Chevalier. Do I have any other nominations? Second for that nomination. Any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, I will call the question to see all those in favor for Jen Chevalier as board chair. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Chair Chevalier.
Madam Chair.
Do you want to do it like
Oh,
we
you
did-
want me to do the whole?
like Flash? I think it's more proper if you just like continue through.
I will be happy to do that. Do I have any nominations for vice chair?
Nominate Rennick.
I have a nomination for Rennick. Do I have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, I will call the question. We don't need a second for nominations. I always forget. Because it's only once a year. Look at all those in favor for Rennick Darnell Martin as vice chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. 8-0, right?
Congratulations. Brennan.
Congratulations to both of you. Do we have any nominations for clerk?
Thank you.
I'll nominate Peter.
Joanne's nominated Peter. Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? I'm not doing it 3 times. Seeing no other nominations, I will call the question. All those in favor of Peter Magnet as board clerk signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those,
Aye.
all those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Congratulations to all 3 officers. And do you want me to move into the discussion of the date and time for regular board meetings?
Yeah, why don't you just wrap up item 6?
This whole
and then-
section.
Yeah.
So right now we have our board meetings on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday primarily, except for, when there's a major holiday or a school vacation. We have the rest of this calendar year published in it's attached to the agenda, the board schedule. But are people happy with the 2nd and 4th with the occasional change, or do they want to go back to the 1st and the 3rd? We just wanted to make sure we set that week.
Now, the first meeting is normally at MVU, and the second is rotating through the elementary school.
People seem to be good with that.
I'm good
Good with that.
Okay. So are people comfortable still with the same schedule that we have? I mean, we would need to tweak it for different holidays. Okay.
Yep.
Is 6 o'clock still okay?
I see that.
I didn't hear that, Rennick.
No, I was gonna say, can it be like 6:10 so I can be on time?
6:10. Jeez.
Makes it tricky.
No, I'm good with the schedule the way it is.
All right, so we'll keep our regularly scheduled board meeting for the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. First meeting at the middle high school, the 2nd at an elementary, and we will publish the schedule. Okay. Thank you for that. Every year when we reorganize, we attach the Vermont School Board Association Code of Ethics. Typically you take action saying that you approve to, and you choose to abide by it. We don't usually have you sign the piece of paper. Does somebody feel comfortable to make a motion that the board abides by the Code of Ethics?
I'll make a motion that the board abides by the VSBA Code of Ethics.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a second for that?
A second.
Thank you, Jen. Any discussion? All those in favor of the abiding by the VSBA Code of Ethics signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. And the annual motions, which of course I don't have up in front of me.
Anyway, we could share.
Yes, I can do that, but I have to open them first. And I believe you make a motion, we'll go through it, and then somebody makes a motion to approve it. Jen.
I've got the, I've got it
We make a motion for all, like each of these separately, right?
That's how we shared in the past.
We
Think that's
have.
a lot, yeah.
We have,
Okay.
because some of them you want to discuss. So the first annual motion is to authorize the Missisquoi Valley School District Administration to seek grants, adopt plans, administer programs in compliance with all laws, assurances, requirements, policies, and regulations, establish written agreements, and act as a representative of the school district for all federal and state funds and collaborative agreements, including but not limited to, and there's the list of our major federal, state, and local grants, which is essentially the business of the administration and the business office. We make this motion every year. Is somebody willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Megan's a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Purette. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. The second motion is authorizing the board chair, vice chair if the chair is not available, to sign professional staff contracts on behalf of the board after the recommendation of hire by the superintendent using our hiring process.
I'll make that motion.
Peter made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie made the second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. The third motion is authorizing the chair and vice chair, if the chair is not available, to sign federal grants and other contracts as needed. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll move that.
Done.
Dawn made the motion.
I'll second.
Megan will second. Any discussion?
So the signed federal grants is when it says as needed, is that assuming the board has approved it?
Most of the federal school grants are not board signified. Some of them have an assurance that the board has to sign, but it's mostly the superintendent. Sometimes contracts, as you know, require the board, and usually there's a specific authorization, but sometimes, I can't even think of an
I
example.
can't think of one either, but I'm pretty sure that there is, they'll just have they'll have a superintendent and a board member signature.
And it's a pro forma thing, not something that the board has had action. It's very infrequent. I think IDEA requires a board chair signature on an assurance.
Not the actual agreement, though.
Something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's not common. Any other discussion? So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. The fourth annual motion is the appointment of an MVSD voting delegate for statewide health insurance bargaining. This happens only when the state is negotiating health care insurance. I'm not sure if this is
coming into it.
or we are coming into it, and that's so that when it's presented to the whole Vermont School Board Association membership, we have a voting delegate. So would someone want to be nominated to, or nominate someone to that seat?
Julie, I nominate Remick as vice chair of the board. He does get to do a lot of things. Also, health insurance is a big part of when we get into negotiations, figuring out what's happening, and I know he was on the negotiations team last time, so I would nominate him.
Would you accept that nomination, Rennick?
I do. Thank you, Don.
All right, so With that motion, appointing Rennick as that nomination appointing Rennick as the voting delegate for statewide health insurance. Any problem with me calling it to vote? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. And the final one, which we discuss every year because we wish we had many periodicals, but we have really one that is weekly, would be a motion to appoint the St. Albans Messenger to be the official newspaper for ads and notices and agendas, which will also be posted on our website, of course.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Megan. Is there a second? Thanks, Stephanie. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No,
You're opposed?
I've never voted for it, so I gotta keep tradition.
Keep tradition? No abstentions? Okay, motion carries 7-1-0. All right.
You had to break the streak, didn't you, Peter?
Yeah.
So, you know. Okay. And that is the end of section 6.
Next agenda item is the introduction of new board members, and we have Stephanie from Swanton. Welcome.
Thank you.
And any questions you have, feel free to ask. And I'm actually I forgot to tell you when I talked to you on the phone the other night, I'm gonna email you a link to the VSBA. They have a new board member part in there that you can go through and stuff.
Okay.
So that'd be great. And Purette from Franklin, that we all know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For being a school board member too. And would you like me to forward that to you? Or?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. We still need a Highgate member. I've got a couple people I got to contact, which I'll get with you, Rennick, on. And yeah, that's about it. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew Stephanie and knew Purette. So welcome.
Welcome to the board, Stephanie.
Thank you.
All right, next agenda item is consent agenda with action approval of the minutes of February 20th. Would anybody like to make the
So
motion?
moved.
Thank you, Don. Would anybody like to second?
I can second.
Thank you, Peter.
I didn't see him on the drive.
They're linked in the agenda.
Oh, it's linked to the agenda.
Yeah.
If they're not in there, that's my fault.
No, they're, in the drive, yeah, the link is there. Any discussion, questions, comments, or anything that needs to be changed on that? Right. Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the February 20th board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Don. All those opposed? And motion carries 8-0.
I'd just like to abstain.
Oh, okay. Motion carries 7-0-1.
Yep.
And would anybody like to make a motion to approve the budget information meeting of 2/27?
I'll make that one.
Thank you, Peter. Would anybody like to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Megan. Any discussion, questions, or comments?
Other than I thought it was a very good meeting, and the public that was there that I heard from came away feeling positive about it. So I thought that was good. We just need to get more people involved.
I thought it was a very good meeting, and I've had at least 3 people who were at that meeting. I don't want to say they made contact with me, but we just happened to appear in a place at the same time, and so we talked about the meeting and some of the things that had been going on around the budget and the school board. So I think it was very worthwhile.
All right, all those in favor of the approval of the budget information meeting of 2/27, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? And abstentions? Be 2.
I'm gonna abstain.
3, 6. Okay. Motion carries 6-0-3. And I'm gonna abstain even though I read the notes because I wasn't there.
5-0.
5-0. Oh, yeah, I keep thinking. Minus the person. Right. All right, moving right along, we've got administrative reports. Does anybody have any questions or comments for anybody for the administrative reports? MVU? Christy, Dan, any questions for them? Anything you want to particularly highlight real quick?
We had the.
Jan, this is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Don.
Yes, I could not open the district one. When I looked at my agenda, I read the MVU one, but for some reason I could not open the district newsletter.
Well,
I don't know why, but I kept clicking on it and nothing happened.
And it's not
So
you.
at some point,
I fixed it, Don. I couldn't open it and so I took it out and replaced it with another copy. So you should be able to see it now.
No rush on it. I'm enjoying vacation, but I did read it. I had a question for Dan or somebody. Do we have students in the science fair that are going on to the state competition?
Yes, we do. And they will be here next month to present.
Have they already been to the state level?
Not yet.
No, okay. But they will go to state, and then in April or late March, we'll see them?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
I have just one thing I wanted to add. This past Saturday, the Junior Iron Chef competed.
Yes.
So MVU had a Beyond the Bell team. There were 4 7th graders who competed down in Essex, and they did a great job and made a vegetarian chili and some cornbread. It was delicious. They had a fun time. They're
We're
all
open
looking
to it
forward
here.
to doing it again next year.
Right. So we're open to having them service here.
That's what I said. I was like, how come I did not get this before? Yeah, so they had a great time.
I just want to say thank you so much for being there to support our kids. They were so honored that you were there, and Chris Dodge was there as well to support the Swanson Elementary team. So it was so nice to see you guys there, and I know it meant a lot to them. So thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to support.
They were kind of cute because one of them said, other people have chef jackets.
I pointed this out.
You're right.
Don't let them fool you. They had chef jackets. They just got them all oil stained. That's on them.
I was like, well, okay.
They had special show day chef jackets.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. And there were teams there who had competed year after year after year, so we had a pretty new team there, but they were good.
Jan, was there anything you wanted to quickly highlight? Or
I was just going to say we had the blood drive today, and I think overall, I think we were a little disappointed in the number of people that were able to get through. We were a little late getting set up, and then I think they kind of got a little behind. So we were hoping for 75 plus people to be able to go through, and I'm not quite sure they got that many, but this is the first time we've had it in 5 years. So it's, I think some hiccups kind of working through that. I think probably a lot on, maybe on both ends. Just trying to, but hopefully if we do it again, hopefully we can some of the players can be a little bit better organized, I would say. But overall, I mean, I think MVU's side of it did really well. The kids, we had about 30 kids who volunteered to help, and they were running participants all over the place, but it was good on their end, yeah.
That's great.
One last chance. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question for the administrator's report. There's a section in here about the school choice window opening for the March 1. Will we get an update? When do families have to decide, by April 1?
Yes, I usually put it in the newsletter in May because there's always a little straggling that happens. And this, like, I try and have it go through the Friday. So I will either have it in time for your April newsletter or the first one. We usually get, right now we have maybe 7 requests.
And will we also get information on the MVU level and not just elementary for students who are choosing to go elsewhere or students who are choosing to come in?
We can have a report of those numbers.
Okay,
sure.
that'd be great.
That window ends also in April, right? Or before, or
March 1st was the deadline.
March 1st, but I know they stack.
Yep.
So is this year different? I don't remember you talking about the lottery and stuff before. Are you anticipating more this year than normal?
The only reason we do a lottery is at a specific grade level. So a good example would be kindergarten. That's where we get the most requests. And Franklin and Highgate both have limited classroom. I mean, we all have limited, but Swanton has 5 classrooms in kindergarten, and Highgate has 2, and Franklin has 1. So if we have 20 kids already, we are capped, right? So, and if we have 6 people that want kindergarten slots in a school and there's only 4 available slots, then we would do a lottery, just blind.
So, just use Franklin as an example. If they chose that they want their child to go to kindergarten at Franklin, does that mean they're in Franklin until they get to 6th
Yes.
grade?
That's what your policy says.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's been very successful, and there are occasions mid-year where a switch happens. That's, due to a particular circumstance, but in general, we really try and make sure people do it at this time of the year, because we need to know.
Right.
We need to plan. It's really not very easy to all of a sudden realize, and the purpose of this policy is not that we would add a teacher in a school. It really, we have to make sure we're planning. And we know a number of kids move over the summer. Families register, particularly at kindergarten, that we usually know most of our students that we anticipate, but there's always some that just either move in or hadn't participated in preschool and enroll in kindergarten. And so we want to make sure that we have appropriate class sizes in all of our schools.
So this was one of the first policies that we introduced. So it's been obviously going for a while now. I haven't heard any complaints. Have you heard? I mean, it seems like it's working, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's been good. We haven't had, and I'm knocking on fiberglass here, but it's been positive. The only once did we have to turn someone away because we were full. It was outside of the window, and we weren't able to accommodate them, but another plan was able to be made for that family. So for the most part, and we haven't, I remember the discussions of what if people are going from place to place and they're switching. That really hasn't happened at all.
Good.
It's been pretty successful.
That's good. Any other questions or comments?
I have a follow-up. Do we ask or document the reasons behind the requested change of placement?
Not for elementary.
Do we for MVU?
The high school, the students write a narrative for the purpose, and I look at them.
Okay.
But I have nothing in the decision-making process, but it is just helpful to see if there are any particular reasons.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a trend and making sure
Right.
that.
that we're addressing it if it's something that can be
Mhm.
addressed.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody that's online for administrative can sign off if you would like, or you can stay on for the rest of the board meeting. And thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is business HR and facility items. First one is warrants.
Does one of the finance committee members want to do the warrants?
Do you want?
Not me. Sorry,
Thank you.
While you do it.
So accounts payable, 1,216,377.79. Payroll checks, $45,368.25. Payroll other disbursements, $1,925,250.45. And payroll deductions, $863,470.30. For a total of $4,050,466.79.
And that's for the month of February.
So, sorry, what?
I said that's for the month of February,
Oh,
just for
sorry,
the
the
minutes,
month of
yeah,
February.
thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Would anybody like to make a motion to accept the warrants as read?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Nick. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Please-
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0. And then next is the food service surplus proposal.
Yes.
I don't have access to that.
You explain, I'll go in the drive and see if I can,
I'm already there.
okay.
Thank you, though.
Do you want me to share it?
If you don't mind.
Someday I will learn to share my screen smoothly.
So I know I keep saying that this is probably the last time that I'm coming to you with proposals for hot lunch surplus, but here we are again. Which is, I guess, not a bad problem to have, but obviously it's contingent upon, or dependent upon the participation and all of that. So we continue to receive claim revenue that is higher than, claim revenue that is in excess of the cost of the program, I should say. That will change. I know I keep saying that also, but as we move forward into a new food service management contract, that will be changing because we will be paying more money per plate. And so you can anticipate that. But basically we have to spend anything above and beyond 30% of, or 3 months worth of expenditures for our programs. So I've worked with the facility directors and some of the principals on what needs there are left out there, and then we brought these proposals to the task force also. But basically what I asked them to do was not spend down the balances in entirety, just in case something happened, but to think about 60%, which is outlined there. We went a little bit over that, but I'm comfortable with the number that we came up with. So the list is there, broken down by school. After this, our kitchens are in, I believe, fantastic shape. Not to say that there's still not some older equipment and things, but we've made some very significant investments in our kitchens. And when we did the walkthrough with our new for our food service management new contract, that the RFP is out right now, the 3 vendors that came were very impressed with our facilities and the condition of our equipment and the investments that have made. So that can't hurt us when they're turning in bids either.
Where does the revenue come from?
where does it come from? This revenue is federal and state, but next year we will, because of universal meals, so the universal meals is contributing a large portion this year, but we have just gotten approved to be a CEP school or community eligibility school. So for the next 5 years, rather than that burden falling on the state, most of it, almost all of it will come from the federal government. Yeah.
And Laura, I wanted to highlight because these are a lot of projects, but you know, I wanted to make sure people understand that we have to spend this surplus federal and state lunch program money, and it has to be used for the kitchen. Or
health and wellness.
Or, you know, but it's very specific.
Yes, it is very specific.
And yeah, it looks like we may be able to pay for unit ventilators in the kitchen area and eating area with these funds.
Yes, just the 10 unit ventilators. So we're on a replacement cycle here at MVU to replace unit ventilators, but we've transitioned the investment from the general fund or capital program into the hot lunch. I have preliminary approval from the state on that. There's a special application process, but I think we'll be able to move forward. So that's a $175,000 investment right there.
That's exciting. I was glad when I heard that.
Yes.
What is the wall partition in Franklin?
It's basically what separates their cafeteria from their gymnasium.
Oh.
If there's that big drop off that happens, yeah. So there's a wall there now, but it needed replacement.
The folding wall.
It's original.
Oh. I was just trying to figure out wall replacement.
Yeah. I probably could have been more specific.
Yeah.
And you said that you worked with facilities to go through everything they need, so there's just a big discrepancy in the total amounts per school, so I just want to make sure we're not, you know, shortchanging one school for another.
Sure. Obviously need was, but also we have made significant investments in the other schools the last 5 times I've come and asked for it, so I think that's why you're seeing some of this disparity too.
Got it.
This is basically the last of the equipment that's needed, yeah. We made sure that, MVU or Swanton or Highgate, we're not going without something and then money going to Franklin or vice versa, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we've made great investments in Swan and Highgate and MVU already.
Yep. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the first food service surplus proposal?
I can't see it or read it, but we did go over that whole list in detail with the facilities committee. So I'm happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Peter. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second the motion.
Ooh.
That was a tie.
No, let somebody else do it. I'm on facilities, so I don't worry about it. We got it.
Okay, Rennick, you win.
Don, be ready for the next one.
Any more questions?
No, that's fine. The only thing I wanted to say was that all of these are important, but to me, the real significant one is the one Laura highlighted. If we can get this done, this solves another problem besides just a food service using the money appropriately. So that's a biggie.
Thank you, Don. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 8-0. Next item, agenda, Swanton Babcock window contract amendment and roof proposal.
Peter, do you want to talk about it first, or do you want me to?
I can, so if you remember, we approved replacing the windows in the Babcock building. The original windows that we were planning to put in, and correct me if I'm wrong on anything, Laura, but the original windows we weren't able to get in time to do this, so we had other options of windows that the facility director, Laura, and they brought it to us to discuss as well. Different levels of windows that we could use. We picked, the mama bear, the one in the middle, that was more than sufficient in energy rating. So we ended up picking that, and it was quite a bit of a savings, as you'll see. because we saved enough money that we are able to add this change order to include the roof in the same project for the same money of that $675,000.
I have a question for Laura.
Yep.
Okay, and maybe Peter can answer it, but it says roof here, but weren't we basically talking about some of the valleys in the roof? I mean, this is not a major roof repair, replacement, is it?
This is the roof replacement on Babcock, the standing seam and the membrane piece. The valleys that we were talking about, I think we decided that we could handle that small amount at Central in the valleys there with maybe potential surplus or just the repair and maintenance budget. That was, maybe is that what you're remembering?
So, okay, so the right, yeah, because I know the valleys have been on an agenda at various times, and if Jason says we can wait. Okay, all right.
You're right.
To clarify, they will be addressed.
Yes.
They will be addressed.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Separate from this.
Yes, separate from this, yes.
But this is a full replacement of the Babcock roof?
Just one section.
One section.
Yeah, the section that needs to be replaced anytime soon, yeah. And I also included the warranty. There's a 20-year warranty that I included. I didn't share it or link it in the agenda, but I did put it in the drive, so that would be available. It's a sample, but ours would be exactly the same once it's installed.
Okay. Very good.
I'm not remembering where the funding is coming from.
This is this current year's general fund surplus. Yeah.
That's what I wondered, if it was that.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to make a motion to accept?
So I'll make a motion.
Do we have? Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. Do I have a second?
Need you, Don.
Your turn, Don.
Okay, no, I heard you, but I wasn't exactly what you were saying, but anyway, I had a question. I know talking about John and facilities, is this all doable? Do we have a vendor that says they can do it this summer?
Yes, for both the windows and the roof.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about the windows and do that, but I know roofing is getting tricky. We've got so many projects and there are others around, but.
It will be Evergreen Roofing, the same, it will be Evergreen Roofing, the same company that will be doing the next phase of the MVU roof and possibly some other work for us.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those who approve, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? What did Rennick say? Rennick, do you?
I said aye.
Thank
Did you hear me?
No, I didn't. Thank you. Motion carries 8-0.
Okay. Jen, also with that, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to log off.
Okay.
Have to get to this convention center. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to the new board members. And I'll put it in the chat. Finance committee is also meeting next week to have some more discussions about whatever is decided upon tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Rennick.
Thanks. Good luck. Thank you.
Next agenda item is letter of resignation.
Can we skip that?
I know, but unfortunately.
So Justina Jeanette has submitted her letter of resignation at the end of the year. It was a very hard decision for her. I think that's reflected in the letter that she gave to you all. She is looking to do something that's different. She's not leaving to go to another school. We talked about it at the beginning of February, and I gave her a period of time to make her decision. But she's been there for 9 years, so it will be a change for sure. And I put this on the agenda not so much to have you accept it, but to make sure that you know and to talk about the replacement of her position. We we've talked with Chris, who is coming back, and Bonnie and Chris and I have spoken. I've spoken with Justina again, and we are going to look for an assistant principal. We talked about, I think it's the most likely process to have good candidates. The principal pool and having somebody who would come to us with experience, which is what you would want if it were a co-principal role. It's very limited right now, and I think you'd be more likely to attract somebody new to administration in an assistant role.
7:08 p.m.
Yes, it is. Yes. My watch knows I'm tense, and
Well, maybe I had a suggestion.
apparently not. So we will be posting. Justina is telling her staff, I think in an email tonight. She was notifying people close to her, and notified administration last week. It's a difficult decision for her, but she feels good having made that decision. And sometimes it's just, when we talked, I said, I was in one school for 8-9 years and another school for 10 years. And, sometimes it is just, you feel like it's time to do a different thing. And that's where she's at. But she's going to be really missed by her colleagues, by me, by the board, by families. She's going to be missed.
I would just love to, if we don't have the chance to see her, she has been tremendous. I am talking just as a mom right now. Both my boys have been in Babcock with her, and she really made it special. So I'm very sad that she'll be leaving, but wish her the best of luck. And just want to make sure she knows how appreciative we all are for everything she's done.
And you will have an opportunity this year, absolutely. But I know that will mean a lot to her. We'll start.
Julie?
Yes, Don.
Okay, my connection kind of falters at times, but it's my understanding that the vacant resignation is effective immediately?
No, Don, end of the school year.
Okay, all right, that's what I couldn't quite clarify, if it was immediate or end of the school year. Okay. So the advertising process has started or will start soon, or?
It'll start this week.
Start this year?
I'm sorry?
Because I heard you mention other names, and I just wondered, so you don't have to change the team for the rest of this year then?
No, not at all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Could we get a card for board members to sign and something nice from the school board to give to her? I don't know.
At the end
suggestions,
of the year?
plaque, something, if anybody would like to give some kind of suggestion as well, but I'd like to have something specifically from the board to help. I think that.
Yeah. So yes, we'll start a process that will involve a team, an interview process team.
And that will, like, the interview process team will have a board member on it as
Well, I guess that's my question, because it's an assistant principal. I don't know whether, we don't often have, well, it's the only assistant principal we have. So, it's fine if you want to have a board member. It's nice.
I think somebody from the board looking from a different.
We can reach out to the board to see if there are any volunteers.
Wait, me?
I'm looking in your general direction.
I didn't give you a side glance for no reason, hanging over there. I'm like,
no,
this.
I would love, yeah, I'd be honored to be part of it.
Didn't put anybody on the spot there.
I'm just
doesn't
gonna
matter.
say, they've got some big shoots.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Thank you very much. And thank you for volunteering, Megan.
Sure. Well, I'm told, yeah.
Next agenda item is discussion items, possible action, the budget revote timeline.
So, unfortunately, we were not successful on town meeting day. And we have brought to you what we think is an appropriate timeline, and I'll let Laura go through it, just so that, you know, it's important to remember we want to recreate the voting experience as much as possible. You can have some shorter timelines, but I think that's not as inclusive as we'd like it to be. Especially, it's important to allow time for absentee ballots to go out to, you know, folks who had that opportunity last time. So we want to recreate that opportunity. Laura, do you want to talk us through?
Sure. So I was sort of working around our current board meeting schedule also, but as Julie said, absentee ballots is really the thing that takes the longest. We're not required by law to have that be a part of this process, but I think we've been promoting that so heavily that it really is important. But the printing of the ballots takes at least 10 days, and then the absentee ballot portion takes about 3 weeks to mail them out and get them back in. So that's quite a significant amount of time. So then looking at that, and then the board meetings is how I develop the timeline. But basically, we would potentially adopt a revised budget at your next meeting on March 26, 2024, and I would put that draft out plenty ahead of time. And then we would order ballots on the very next day, the 27th. Absentee ballots would then get to the towns on April 8th. Again, that's typically a 3-week process. I would work with the towns on that. We would post the warning on April 22nd or earlier possibly. We have to post that in all the normal places, including the paper, and that has to be posted at least 5 days before the informational meeting and at least 7 days before the vote. We would then, the school vacation comes into play here too, so we would then have the informational meeting the Monday before the vote, but after the vacation weekend, so that's April 29th, and we consistently do that on Monday, so it makes sense. And then the revote would happen on April 30th, which is that Tuesday, which again, we can traditionally have votes on Tuesdays, so. But this is a draft, so.
We'd love to hear people's thoughts about this.
I'm nervous about the
Sounds good.
vacation bumping up, and that takes basically a week out of our ability to promote it. I don't know, that makes me nervous, with not having, with having so many families possibly out of town, and knowing that it failed last time, I don't want to lose any chance that we have to promote it, or if we do stick with this timeline, could we do a second informational meeting prior to vacation? Yeah, it feels like a week lost.
Would we be able to resend out a flyer, but also in the flyer, to Laura's point, that because everything got shot down, not just the budget, everything got shot down. Maybe explain also I'm at a loss for words right now, but when we take out the
request to borrow in
that we get
anticipation of
interest
that, yes.
back on it, so that it's actually a good thing. I think that really needs to be explained, because you know the voters are seeing all these big numbers thrown out there, and they're just like, you know, so a little bit more explanation on, you know, the borrowing aspect would be good.
Reinvestment.
Yeah.
And that's every year, right?
Yes.
That's included.
But I think the more we explain
I agree.
and I know, like, my feeling, because you know, my youngest was able to vote for the first time this year, and then, right, she's all proud. But then my oldest, who doesn't keep up with everything, but when the book came out, you know, and I brought it home, and they're all looking at it, and they're like, you know, so when the flyer came in the mail, they're like, okay, that's better.
Digestible.
Yeah.
I think the other piece that's important is that, you know, every school district in the state does this. I'm not really, the article is because by law, we have to have voter approval to borrow money.
Yep.
But every school district in the state does this because none of us receive tax revenue until December, and we start doing payroll in July. So and you have to have heat, and you have to have lights, and all those expenses are still there. So I think that's part of the education too, is that it's a normal part of operation for school districts and the way that the funding works for the state of Vermont.
Break that down a little bit in there too.
Yeah, not so many words, but yeah.
No, not so many words, but this is why, you know,
Yeah.
like a little something of this is why we do it, and it, you know, kind of carries us over, and we're earning, you know,
It's not
interest on
costing
it.
us, we're just gaining on it.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that would be beneficial.
So is your question about this that we condense it to vote before vacation, or that we delay it, say, a week, right?
I hate to say delay, but I think I would feel more comfortable if we could stick with this, but have a second information meeting more than a day before the vote. Like, that just feels very tight, and the feedback I received after the last informational meeting was all very positive, and we need to get more members of the community to attend so that they can ask these questions and understand. And if it's happening on Monday, we know we're not going to get everybody to come. That's just unrealistic. But the ability for the people who do come to help us disseminate that information is gone if we do it back to back.
Yeah.
So either move the informational meeting or add a second one.
Well, you have to have it so many days, within so many days of the vote, right? And so
Yes,
I don't
it
know
has
what-
to be
Well,
within.
that's on it, that's for a typical vote.
That's for a typical.
The guidance that I got did not include that,
Yes,
but I'd have to clarify with someone.
It says informational meeting must be warned at least 5 days before.
Warned.
That's
Warned 5
warned.
days before.
Just warned.
But the time,
But-
normally a budget informational meeting in a normal timeline, yes.
It has
You have
to
to have
be-
it within 10 days.
it
That
has
was
to
not part of the guidance that I received on this, so I would have to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because,
I would assume so, but the
Yes.
rules are different with the revote like this, especially when it's a budget article.
But to Megan's point, I think that the rules make it tighter, not wider, because they want you to have the informational meeting close to the
Close,
vote.
so that it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we have a whole week of vacation there,
Right.
which, so to your point, maybe we do like an online Zoom budget information, have parents, I mean, a lot of our parents like to join that way too.
Yeah.
And it's like a preview of it, but we don't want to call it the same thing
Right.
because that
It could be
has a
a
legal
Q&A or
meaning.
something.
Right, we could do something. That's probably a good idea. And
Jen,
Yes, Dawn.
when everybody at the table speaks, I wanted just an opportunity to say something, but I'm patient.
The only other thing that I wanted to add is that, yes, you're supposed to keep the vote as consistent as possible, so the same location, the same times that the polls are open, but we will run into a snag with the Highgate School if it's a school day, because they typically would use their school, and I think in the past, the board and the town have thought that wasn't necessarily safe to have all of the public coming into the building. So because it's not technically available, because it's being used as a school building that day, it is allowable to move it to another location, so.
Is that
when-
usually
It is
the arena?
allowable?
Yes,
Yes.
Wendy's, sorry,
Is that usually the arena?
yeah. Yeah. And Wendy Dusavant, the Highgate Town Clerk, is aware of all of that, and that was sort of her suggestion too.
So it's just reading on that, the one thing that we have to do is at the place of the original vote, you have to have a notice saying where the vote is in case they go there by mistake.
Yeah.
Because that's where the other one was, so we
Yeah.
just need to remember that.
Yeah.
Dawn?
Yes, a couple things. First of all, I want to thank Megan for raising the issue about meeting time. I've been giving this a lot of thought, and I was thinking we should have a couple of meetings. Laura may have thrown a little monkey wrench in it with what she just said, because what I was thinking was we would have 2 information meetings, one in Highgate and one in Swanton. But if we have to have it at MVU because we had the other one there, then maybe that won't work. But I really think that we need to get into our towns, and I'm not trying to leave Franklin out, but I think that Franklin can come to Highgate. We go to Franklin quite often for things, but anyway, I think definitely what we do, we need 2 meetings. And I'm certainly willing to go out another night for a couple hours to show people that we really want to get the word out. And I know that it might infringe on some people's free time, but I have an issue I was going to keep for future meetings, but it's kind of related, so I want to pop it out now. On the budget, I think that we were all very disappointed. I don't think anybody was shocked that it was defeated, but I know I was shocked it was defeated by so much. So I did some talking. In fact, that day as I was going out, I got my ears burned a little bit, but I feel it's important to listen. And since then, I followed up, and I think money was an issue, but there are a lot of issues there that fester with certain people, certain groups of people. And I originally had planned to call Julie on Thursday and say, can I get an item on the agenda to do like a budget vote debriefing? Well, I had my pre-op in Morrisville for my upcoming surgery. I had to pack my suitcase and I never got to it. So I said, no, that's not fair to whip it out tonight. But on the next agenda, or here when we do budget, I would like an item to talk a little bit about what we are hearing as board members about why the budget was defeated. And probably 90% plus is it can't afford it, it's too expensive. But I had some people who were pretty clear to me on why they probably will never vote in favor of an MVSD budget unless some things change that are important to them. That doesn't mean we have to change them, but I think the board needs to know about it. Because the next vote hopefully is positive, but I'll tell you, it'll be close. So, thank you.
Thank you, Don. Joanne?
Oh, I know we do a lot of surveys, but I mean, do we have the time to do a quick survey, out to, I know it's hard to get to the public, but I know the Franklin Town Clerk sends one out, and whoever has emails, at least, we got the community survey that you had done for the beginning. I mean, if even a 5-day window of getting something, like a meeting place, if Dawn is saying Highgate and Swanton is, we need to be in those schools in those towns, that's fine. I'm definitely willing to go to those towns or those schools if they're willing to come. I think what the frustrating part is we have tried this, might have been still close to kind of like feeling like COVID, but, and no one really came. So other than us, taking over the musical at the very beginning, but the vote will not quite have happened yet, but, saying, hey, we need to communicate.
Advertise the musical an extra night and it'll just be us.
So could we to elaborate on that, like maybe do a survey asking?
So, because another comment that came from the informational meeting was Saturday mornings. If you guys would have these on Saturday mornings, more people would show, but is that, I don't know, I've never tried. Some of you guys are way more experienced with meetings, correct?
We definitely have done that, and it was not successful.
Okay.
Wasn't there a time when, I remember that, I think it was the MVU Honor Society, they offered
daycare?
Free babysitting or watching the kids so that parents could come out.
We did that for our merger vote.
That must be
when we had everybody in the theater and the kids watched.
I wonder if that,
children.
if that's something that could possibly help get. Or maybe put that on the survey, I don't know.
Or if they would prefer to do an online, is it easier for them to do online as opposed to coming?
But we'd have online and nobody came, it was 2 people, so we've done
But we had
we
had 15 people here, which was great.
I know, it was amazing.
It was great, it was good.
That's great. I
It's
know
good questions.
It's usually one person.
It is.
So I'm celebrating 50. I've never in 20 years as an administrator have I had, a room full of people for a budget informational meeting. I don't really think I've ever experienced that.
Because as a board member, I'll go anywhere.
Right.
So I'm supportive to our ideas, but we really need to know what will they come to?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, to answer Dawn's question, I mean, this timeline was part of all, it's general budget discussion. I think the intention of this was not just to talk about timeline, but what people's thoughts are, and maybe what they heard, etc. To answer your question, I can easily do a survey.
Okay.
It's absolutely, it's just a matter of what would be helpful. So one thing that people say when we do a survey is they want us to have an open box so they can put whatever they think in it. But then you get, 130 people's thoughts, and it's hard to, I think it's absolutely important to have at least one field where people can just put in a reason and put their own thoughts. But I'll also have to think of some things that you can see, so you can look at trends. It's hard to just read 180 thoughts and compile them, but you can easily do a survey.
I heard Don talk about that he'd like maybe at the next meeting to talk, about what we've heard. But my concern is, in order to follow this timeline, we need to adopt a budget at the next meeting, and if we do that, are we going to be able to adopt a budget at the next meeting too? I personally don't want to push out the revote later than April 30th. I feel like that's plenty late to have a revote, and I feel like we have to follow some type of a timeline. Is there a reason we can't talk about that now, or is it because it's not on the agenda we can't, or?
Is Pierre talking to me?
I am sort of talking to you, Don, yes. I'm wondering, is there a reason we can't talk about what some of the reasons that we felt that people didn't vote for it now?
Let me tell you that the things I'm going to tell you will not have any impact on what you decide to take to a budget to the public or the timeline. It will not have any impact on that at all, okay? I'm out of town, I have my notes, but I said, no, I'm not doing it during vacation. It's just information for us to have, and you can totally disagree with it. But there were a number of comments that I got there, and I even got one, might have been more, from Highgate, because I have a house in Highgate, and I was up there because at the airport they're cutting trees on my property. And people talked about the budgets, and I thought afterwards, I'm sure that the majority of the votes were because they thought the budget was too high. But there's some other things that have been happening since the merger that maybe have simmered a little bit. And now when they had a real good reason because it was so high, they turned out and made sure they voted no. Nothing is going to turn the world upside down, and I don't want to take the time tonight. So we should go ahead with our plan of what we're going to do, information and budget. But I do want to share these at some point and not let them go into next fall. I want to get them out there. It probably won't take more than 15 minutes. And after I get done, you can all tell me I'm crazy. But when 3 or 4 or 5 people tell me some of the same things, I start to listen. And there are just some things that go on in our district that have irked some people, and I think they may have a reason to be irked. So, and it has nothing to do with our administrators. They're doing a fine job. In fact, I have to tell you, I probably had at least a half dozen and maybe more people comment positively on MVU, on what's happening at MVU. And I'm going to tell you, it hasn't always been the case in my last 20 years. So Dan and Chrissy should stand up. Chris should stand up and pick a battle. I thank Joanne for adding maybe we should have a third meeting and go to Franklin too.
Come on over.
I think it's, it definitely sounds like we'll have a meeting before the vacation, and then we'll have the informational meeting, and I think we'll get a lot of, as many people as we can. And we push out, the other piece is we will make small videos, we will send out mailers, we will do all those same things. We can't do as many and make them short and straight to the point, because we've had feedback about that as well. And I think being able to, we reached out to parents and we reached out to the PTOs in all 3, but we'll do that again, at least, email folks and say, can you share this with your Highgate PTO website and so forth.
So Dawn, I liked your idea. Just wanted some clarification. So when you're talking going to the towns, are you talking about going to our elementary schools in those towns, or going to the municipal buildings, maybe with the select board? Just thinking there's already an audience there. Maybe teaming up with the select boards, or at least in Swanton and maybe Highgate, just so we have more of an audience and different people maybe tuning into those meetings that don't tune into ours. Is that what you were thinking, Don, or?
Well, let me thinking, there's a lot of things I've been thinking. I didn't want to take your time tonight, and my wife says, we're on vacation, leave it alone. But I think we need to be talking with the select boards, whether we do it on this. But I'm going to tell you, and you probably all know this, but day or two after the vote, my brother, who was a former superintendent, is now a lister, and called, and we talked about all the people that lost their budgets. We got talking. I think we all realize that this CLA thing's not going to go away. You know, if we don't get a reappraisal or something drastic happens in some of the sales, and as I say, I got quite a good education in talking with him about CLA and how it's impacted his town. I don't know if the select boards have any plans, or the listers, I guess it starts with the listers, to get the reappraisals done, but Laura may know more about this than I do, but I'm talking to him about my brother. He says that your CLA is based on the last 3 years of sales. And so if CLA is costing us $300 on a house this year, it's going to be $300 next year, and probably $300 the next year. And who knows after that, unless we have some real high-end sales drop off. So I think there's got to be discussions with select boards about the CLA and the listers. When are we going to move? Because otherwise, our budget's going to go down year after year, because people are going to see $300-400 due to CLA. So anyway, coming back to your question, Peter, I don't have a preference. I just think that we need to get out there for the people, and maybe select board members, if they were positive, would be helpful. Maybe we should keep it clean and just be at our information meeting. I guess that's probably what I would say now. Let's do our general information meetings like we've done, and if you want 3, I'll be there. But I definitely think Megan, who got this started, made a really good point.
Can I ask another question? I agree with the CLA thing wholeheartedly. One of the things that surprised me and also frustrated me the most after what I felt and what I heard was a very thorough, detailed information presentation that very clearly called out the CLA for what it is and the extreme impact it has on taxes, that at the end of it, we still had people who were sitting here through it saying, but I can't afford that. They still didn't get it. And it is a huge aspect of the budget and the impact to all of us as taxpayers. So I think highlighting that again and again and again is important. Like, I think the sample we had was $1 million change in our budget would have like a penny impact on taxes. So I think keeping that I don't know, as one of the top talking points is important. So hopefully folks have a better sense of what's really driving the changes in property taxes. And I have another one actually. Could there be a discussion of expectations for board member participation and attendance at these events, at the information sessions? Because, you know, there were a number of board members missing for various reasons, but it wasn't really discussed, at least that I can recall, about like, this is I know it's not a regular board meeting, but the expectation is that we're in attendance. So that would be helpful. That's it.
So in general, people are, I mean, it sounds like next week we will come with a budget proposal. I can put a survey out that will be completed before that, so that I can share that with board members. We can review that possibly at the meeting before, discussing the budget specifically. Hopefully, Don can get me his notes, and that could be added to that survey, to the information. And the finance committee is meeting next week, and I hope board members attend. And we'll have a conversation, the facility committee met already last week, and the finance committee is meeting next week, so we can have some proposals to recommend to the board.
So it's those two committees are essentially going to be the driving factor to what changes should be made in the budget, like based on their recommendations.
I think that's very similar to how the budget was developed
Right.
in the beginning, yeah, and then there would be obviously discussion, but.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the facility committee had already planned to have prioritized list.
Right.
And this board charged them with doing that, given this, should the budget not pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then have a conversation at the finance committee, and any board member should participate. And then the outcome there will likely be a direction, but this board has held with new board members, obviously, but lots of discussions about what they think should happen, and so hopefully we'll be able to have consensus on a budget to adopt on the 26th, but obviously if that doesn't happen, then we schedule another meeting.
Right.
So.
So when is the finance committee meeting?
The 18th.
The 18th.
At 5 o'clock.
And we usually have a Zoom
Will
link
you
for
send
that.
out like an invitation to the whole board so that we can participate, or?
When it gets warned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to everybody. All the committee meetings get warned to the entire board.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Next agenda item is vacant Highgate seat. Next discussions.
So we have a couple of people who've expressed interest.
Yep. Which I'll be calling tomorrow night, because I worked last night. So I've got both of them to, and they'd put a letter of interest in to the board, and it'd be for 1 year, and then they'd have to go out and follow the process of getting the signatures to get on the ballot for a 3-year position. So,
Would we interview them like we did last?
right, they'd put a letter of interest in, and then they'd come, we'd interview them, and then we would go into executive session and discuss and what have you. But then after that, that's always just a 1 year. And
Right.
then they have to follow the process of the next town meeting voting to be on the ballot and stuff, so.
So is that, is this it's a 1 year because they weren't elected in. So if they choose to go up for election, is it to fulfill a 2-year
No,
remaining term, or is there
Just
one
1
year
year.
because we
Kelly-
did this last
right.
year?
So it's
Okay.
the same 3-year seat.
Okay, that's what I thought. We're still in that one.
Yes, so
chunk.
1 year's been served through an appointment. We're looking to appoint for the second year. Should the person want to do the third year, they'd have to run for that third year.
And
Remainder
then
of a 3-year term.
do another one for a full 3 years.
Correct.
Got it.
It gets confusing.
It does.
It does, I have a list.
So is there like, you said like letters of interest, is there something that's being put out to the public to get letters of interest, or how is that?
We're still running it through Highgate School through the.
Yes, we'll have to put an advertisement in the newspaper.
And if we can also, so the Highgate School advertisement in newspaper, and can we put it like in the mornings for a little bit on the boards? Maybe Wendy could put it on their board.
Or the one out here, can we do
And
one?
yeah,
What
and
do
one
what do
here.
you want it to say out there?
Looking for Highgate.
Schools, yes.
Highgate School board vacancy.
Yeah.
Dan, I'll
Highgate
send you.
Call Dan.
Dan, I'll send you something in the morning.
Yes.
But like, just like,
MVSD.
Yeah.
but like morning,
From
like
Highgate.
morning drop off when parents are trying to.
Mhm. Bonnie, you want to send me something?
Put it on Facebook, on our Facebook pages too.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to run it. It's,
Yeah, I did that.
and we can run it
like
from
last
7
year.
to 9 o'clock in the morning, and then in the
Yeah.
afternoon again. Or
Yeah,
whenever
no
it works.
public can comment, it's just pushed out.
Yeah, you might as well just run it.
Might as well
It
always
would
run.
look better on purpose.
Yeah.
Is there a Facebook, a Highgate community page?
I
I
know
know there's a Swanton one.
the town, when I email them, they will often read, I'll say, I've posted
Yeah.
something, can you like and share?
Okay.
And they will. Which is how we got so many survey results. Because we did a link on a Facebook that the towns shared. So try and do that again for both things.
And hopefully, one or two, or maybe even both of the people I speak to around Nicole interested.
So would we be meeting them next meeting or the one after?
It would
We'll probably have to wait for, if we see if anybody else comes forward.
We'll see what kind of interest we
Right.
get and what I get for answers.
Because we have 2 full weeks, so if we advertise and get interest, we should be able to put it on the agenda for that meeting. And you could appoint someone in that meeting if appropriate, but that person couldn't vote. But they could, should you want to participate in the discussion or sit and listen? Or wait until the next meeting. I mean, it's up to the board.
The last time we waited till the end of the meeting to make the decision.
Right. It's gonna be a long meeting. We will be in Highgate.
Oh, we will?
Yeah.
Right, next agenda item, future agenda items, budgets, cybersecurity, Vermont CAP results, teen leadership program, work-based learning.
STEM fair winners.
Yep.
Is there a document that has all of the future agenda items listed as well as like the meeting that we are anticipating discussing those?
It's in our board prep. It's not a finalized, it changes as things come up.
Okay.
And we can add to it, we're always adding, so that's just like a general, this is where we would kind of like to see this, and then sometimes we have to move things around when Rennick and Julie and I meet, or we have to add something, or something's gonna be really lengthy, like the budget.
Right. Okay.
That kind of pushes things through, but yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely on the board prep.
I just want to make sure that the proficiency grading piece doesn't get lost.
Right.
I know it's been almost a year, and we still haven't
had a dedicated discussion of what that looks like, or if anything. So I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost.
Peter?
So I'm thinking at our next meeting, we should look at our individual committees.
Yes.
Because we've got new members, so we'll want to look at if anybody wants to change, or new members, what board or committee they'd like to be on. So we should look at that. And also, do we have a negotiations committee this year? So
We will need one next year, yes.
So we'll want to you put that together as well.
So if we don't have anybody, if both these people back out and we can't get anybody else, then we're not gonna, I would like, do we wanna hold off on the committees to give them an opportunity, or just let them join a committee as they join the board?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't wait forever.
Right.
So whenever they get here, they can be appointed or choose.
I know, right? Be appointed came flying out pretty quick as opposed to
Can we just
choosing.
appoint Rennick to like the negotiations thing because he's not here? Because that happened to me several times where I just got put on because I
he's had a rough week.
True. All right.
That might be me. Kick him while he's down.
Right?
Okay, but next time.
Oh, he had lots of fun doing the negotiations. Him and I were on the. Oh yes, he was so happy.
See, he'll be happy. I'm doing him a favor.
Yes. So we definitely have. We'll go through. I'll make sure before the next board meeting that we have the list of the committees, and that we have that document that's on the website, so we can make sure that goes out. Because negotiations will be very busy next year.
Future meeting.
Can I just share that document, that link, because there are a couple of things on there that we hadn't finished last year. Let me just show you what I mean.
Wait, what? Yeah, I'm confused. Oh, the future.
The future meeting document. Okay. Because one of the things I want to make sure we just, Julie, there we go. There's a lag. So what we did is we put in stone all the board meetings up through April, right? The meeting on 4/23 is scheduled to be in Swanton. That is the school vacation week. So we won't have any student presentations. We may not have principals. But one of the things we did discuss is whether we flip-flop that with Franklin, because we might be able to have a tour there during that meeting, right? So that was a conversation. If it's okay with people, I'll ask Joyce, right? I think she was thinking that was the meeting that would be in Franklin. We would just flip-flop that with the Swan meeting. And so I think those dates look fine. The 6/18 meeting is after graduation. That's why we have them. That one's the 1st and 3rd because of the graduation week. There's just too much going on, and because of Memorial Day and things like that. I think we have a good. So I just wanted to call your attention to, there were a couple of changes that were made. And that's always linked in the agendas.
And you can do it out for the rest of the year too?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Next board meeting will be Tuesday, March 26th at Highgate.
A question about the meeting. So I was just looking, we have an MVU meeting on 5/7, and then we wait 3 weeks. Did I miss something? we had to do that?
That was a calendar, let's see.
Just something on the 21st. So just looking at the 28th and the 4th, they're really close together.
You know what I think? I think that that's a mistake. Because there were 2 dates in both of those, and I think, let me just double check my. So we have the 7th and the 21st. Or we could do this 14th and the 28th.
Would be the 14th and the 28th
Right.
to keep it in
If
the
we-
the
If we
second
do this,
and
right,
so.
the 14th and the 28th. But then, yes, June 4th is right the next week because of high school graduation.
Yep.
And that, we did that last year. So it should be the 14th and the,
Okay.
I'll fix it now. Thank you, Peter.
Next agenda item, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:55 p.m.? Thank you, Peter. And do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Joanne. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dawn. Have a good vacation.
Elizabeth,